Hello yogis, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio and welcome to our practice today. Today we're going to be focusing on an area of the body that a lot of us struggle with, whether you're an athlete or doing sports on the side or your everyday living, or if you're someone who sits a lot in your job, either driving or at a desk. You may have found that when you stand up, this area, this space between about lower thigh near the knee and all the way up to about waist feels very sticky and stiff. And this can result in us kind of tucking over or leaning back and letting it open up. So this is an area that's really important to keep some space in and really open up. This is also great if you're looking to really deepen your practice and come into a splits position. It also really helps to open up this front section of the body. And you'll find that by opening up the hip flexors and this space, your lower back may feel better too. So all around a great space to work with. I have a couple of props today. Lucy, of course. A blanket, but a blanket is optional if you're trying to take care of your knees and the ground is very hard. A blanket, a towel, or something underneath where you can put a little padding between your knees and the floor might be helpful. 2 blocks. You could probably get away with 1, but 2 is a little bit better. If you don't have blocks, you can always use the seat of a chair or some cans or something a little bit taller. Books or book sets often are helpful as well. Some people use water bottles. Use a couple of water bottles as well. So we're going to start by coming into a child's pose. We're going to take our knees a little bit closer than we often do. So you can have your knees on that blanket. You're going to take your fingers and find the points of your hip bones. And we're going to feel that hip bone line coming straight down the center of your knees. So you want to line yourself up. So instead of taking them really wide or super close together, we're giving space to feel a little more comfortable. Big toes together. Start to bring yourself down. Maybe here is a place you can use those blocks. You can always set your arms on those if you don't want to come all the way down and that's a little too much stretch for you. Just coming down and starting to just rock a little bit side to side in your child's pose. And here we're compressing that space of the hip flexor. And there's more than one hip flexor. So we often refer to it as a hip flexor. And we're looking at multiple muscles involved in this. So we really want to open this entire space the width of, working with all these tiny little muscles and some of the bigger muscles that tie the upper and lower body together and help us move our legs, lift our knees, turn the legs out. Come to center. Maybe you soften down a little bit lower. Take 3 deep breaths here. You can already feel a little compression on one side. Many people have one side that is more of a struggle to work with than the other. That's not unusual. Maybe even feel like a little bit of a kind of pinching or tension there. Don't worry, we won't be here forever. Last nice deep full breath, maybe exhaling out through your mouth. And then coming all the way up. So here, definitely take your knees all the way on that blanket or support if you have that cushion for yourself. And we're going to walk those blocks back and put them on the lowest setting or the next highest setting. So we're going to do a little bit of a flow here. So you're going to take your right hand and place it flat on that block, fingers pointing forward. You're going to lift up and take the left hand up and over. Come back down and you're going to switch sides. Reaching up, lifting the hips toward the ceiling, really stretching that one side. And by taking our arms up, doing the other side again, we're really lengthening through the whole front side of the body. Back down. And then one more on each side here, just holding for a nice deep breath. Opening up to starting that space. Giving a little room to breathe. And taking our blocks out in front. We're going to come onto hands and knees, and we're going to start with that right foot forward. And we're going to come into what we call a 90-90 position. So that's where you have this 90-degree angle in your front leg, 90-degree angle in your back leg. Your toes can be flipped or otherwise, right? Taking your hands, palms down onto your front leg. We're going to inhale, lengthen. Exhale, tuck the belly in and arch back all the way in. So shoulders are going to come forward, tilting forward, chin to chest. Inhale, release, little back bend. Exhale, arch around like an angry cat, like our cat position here. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And one more, inhale, exhale. This time we're going to hold it. We're going to take the arms out in front of you, palms pointing toward one another, reaching out with the fingertips. Tuck as tightly as you can. You may be really feeling this stretch on the front of that left hip flexor. And then hands all the way up overhead. Now here's where you can walk those blocks back a little bit if you want. And we're going to take that right hand onto the right block, or you can take it onto your hip and you're going to reach that left hand up and over. So if it's more balancing to get your fingertips on that right block, reach up and center. Reach up and center, keeping that same 90-degree angle. Over and center. Two more. Up and over. Back to center. Last one. Up and over. Reach, reach, reach with the fingertips for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Relax down. Rock it back a little bit. Walk your blocks forward and start to walk your right foot forward. So now we're coming out of that 90-degree angle. Finding a place here where your blocks can be on either side. This is just to give you some support here in your position. We're gonna rock forward and then rock back a little bit. Rock forward, look up, rock back. You may be already feeling this in the front of the left hip flexor. We're just slowly moving into it. So this is what the repetition does, is just very slowly start us moving into the pose and letting it sink in. You're going to engage your left glute and find it pushing down a little bit more. This is going to open up even more of that front left hip flexor. Release up, take the blocks to the inside of that right foot, whatever height you need. Walk your right foot over to the side, and maybe you find yourself turning the foot out and even coming onto the outside skate edge of your right foot. Here you can take those blocks and come down onto your forearms. Maybe that's too much. Make the adjustments that you need. You're going to flatten out that back foot so the top of the foot is flat on the floor. Here again, engaging that left glute to push that thigh down. On an inhale, you're going to bring that heel toward your hip. So left heel toward left hip. Exhale down. You may feel this in the back of your leg, your hamstrings here. Inhale in. Exhale down. Last one. Inhale in. You're going to hold for 5, 4, 3. Keep pushing that hip down. 2, 1. Release it down. Walk your hands on top of the blocks. Walk yourself back. And come into a cat-cow here. So arching and rounding 3 times. Feeling whatever sensations you feel in that left hip flexor. Noticing the difference between right and left. One is done, one is not. Coming back to center. This time we're going to walk our left foot forward. Coming back into that 90 degrees. So I want to find that knee directly over the ankle, hands on hips, and slide those hands onto that front thigh. You're going to inhale, arch a little bit back, a little back bend. Exhale, curve in and press that left knee away from you. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve, chin to chest, belly button to spine. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press. You're going to hold here. Start to take your hands out in front of you, reaching out, palms facing inward, chin to chest. Pull that hip back as much as you can. And take a moment to relax. Take your block over to the left side if you need it there. So right in line with the hips if you can. Hands up overhead. Drop that left fingertips down or palm down to that block. Reach up and over with that right hand. Inhale to center. Exhale to arch. Inhale, center. Exhale, arch. Inhale, center. Last two. And up. And over. Hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Take your blocks on either side. Here again, walking your back knee back, your front leg forward. Finding space. Hands on blocks. We're going to lean a little bit forward and then start to shift back a little bit. Leaning forward and shifting back. And each time, see if you can bring that right hip flexor, the front of the right hip, down a little bit lower. Nice deep breaths. And last time, stretching it out. Here, pressing that hip down using the glutes of that right side. And then walking the blocks to the inside, taking that left foot out to the left, maybe coming onto the outer edge, walking your blocks out in front of you where you can come down onto your forearms or use some support here. Pressing with the glutes, that right hip down this time. We're going to inhale, bring the heel toward the hips. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. And last one, inhale up. We're going to hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. Walk your hands back up. Shift back, and we're going to take a child's pose. Now here you can choose to take your hands on top of those blocks for a little more shoulder opening too. Notice how your hip flexors feel now. We're going to shift the blanket off to the side over here. We're going to come onto our backs. We're going to use one of these blocks. Now, I like to use the flattest side, but you could use a higher up point. We're going to take that block right up against our back. And then we're going to start to use our hands to shift up onto it. Now, we don't want this on our lower back. We want this on our sacrum. So go down a little bit lower and slide it so it's not touching the lower back. Go ahead and bring your right knee into your chest. Wrap your hands either in front of the knee or behind it. Walk your left leg out. And you may notice because you're a little higher up that maybe your knee doesn't straighten all the way. Here's a great judge too, is maybe you want to go higher on that block and see where that takes you. Maybe you want to stay here. Okay, so we're going to do a little movement here too. We're going to inhale, drag that heel toward us, and then lift a little bit out and press that heel out straight again and touch the floor. Inhale, drag it in about halfway. Exhale out, nice and straight. Inhale, maybe a little bit further. And exhale out. 2 more. Inhale in. And exhale out. And last one. Inhale in. Exhale out and press through the heel, flex the toes. See if you can stretch that front left hip as much as you can. Feel a big opening here. This is one of my favorite ways to open the hip flexors. And then gently release both feet flat. We're going to change sides. Bring the left knee in. This time the right leg goes out straight. Every side is different, so it's going to feel a little bit different. Press through that heel. Notice if the knee is straight or not. I can always kind of feel that by lifting up. And then we're going to inhale, drag that heel in. Exhale, press it out. In and out. 3 more times. Your own breath pace, just using your breath as a way to sort of move carefully and mindfully. If you're on your last one, go ahead and press that heel out, flex the toes. Press that heel into the ground and really stretch it away from you, opening up the space. And then take both legs out straight. Take your arms up overhead. I like to do one last stretch here where I flex the toes, lengthen out overhead too, really opening up the front side of the body. Here would be a great place if you want to move that block to a higher height. You'll get a lot more stretch. And then go ahead and place your feet flat, knees toward the ceiling. Lift your hips into a bridge. Take that block out from underneath you. Bring your knees into your chest. Give them a little squeeze. Rock side to side. And then rock yourself up to a seat. Come into Sukhasana, or easy seated pose, right leg in front of left. Really easy and comfortable. Inhale, sweep up. And then exhale, fold forward. Now here you're going to take your elbows to your knees and press those knees down. So we're going to kind of open outward a little bit here. I love this variation to really get deep in there. And sometimes I'll rock a little bit side to side to find a little more depth here. If your knees come all the way to the floor, you can probably just stay here. And then inhale back up, take your hands around behind you, flip those feet, which is in front and which is not. Inhale, sweep your hands up and over, exhale down. Take those elbows into the little tiny crease of your knees and press them down. Here again, if it feels good, to rock side to side, or you can just stay still and really use your biceps and triceps to really press into those knees and kind of move them down a little bit. Now you want to feel a stretch. You don't want to feel any pain ever. You don't want to force things to do what they don't want to do. Inhale all the way back up, and you are done. Thank you so much for joining us for this practice. I hope this really helps open up the hip flexors fast for you. This is a great practice to use every single week to see if you can kind of maintain that opening, especially if you're in a job where you sit a lot, either driving or in an office chair, or any job that you do where you sit a lot. You really need to open up this space. We could all use a little bit more opening in this space. Really going to help with back bends as well, because sometimes that tightens up and we have a hard time doing a back bend. So for your practice, for athletes, for just normal life, a great practice to explore each week. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this practice, please join me at theyogaranger.vhx.tv for many more practices and live events. I look forward to sharing lots of things there with you. Have a great day.